Welcome back to the second session of Ball Walk for this mid-May show. Bob, Eddie, and Julio.
Got the hat back on now.
You threw the hat.
Threw the hat well.
I had to throw the hat.
That was pretty well. Most managers would like that.
I sat, we were just sitting there talking about going tomorrow to the first game of the softball regionals where the Gators are the #1 overall seed, and I looked at the #1 probable overall seed in baseball, and it was 16 of the top 25 are in the ACC or SEC, and
Yes.
9 of the top 10.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Well, we talked about that in our show several weeks ago.
9 out of 10 in the top 10.
We talked about that several weeks ago. That was going to.
And they've been beating up on each other. That's what's so amazing about the whole thing.
Well,
is I can see early preseason where we'll give but eventually some of those dudes have to lose.
Yeah, but if you lose and if you haven't lost any in the beginning of the year, and you're in the 2 best leagues,
and Georgia, who won't, I actually got to watch that game earlier this week. Georgia, who won't make the NCAA tournament. I mean, I want to say they're 7-20 in the SEC, and they came 1 inning from a 3-game sweep. 1 game at Georgia Tech, 1 game at Georgia, and 1 game at Fulton County. Well, not Fulton County. Wow, how about that?
Wow, how about that?
Turner Field at Turner Field this week, and lost the game in extra innings, the 3rd game of the series, but Georgia handed it to Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech's one of those ranked teams from the ACC.
I'm not so sure that you should say so quickly that Georgia won't make the tournament.
Well, they're 26-27.
It doesn't matter.
They need to win a couple.
They'll need to win a couple of games down the stretch. They need to win a couple this weekend. They'll probably need to win maybe 1 game in the SEC tournament. But even so, they might get in anyway. If you're
not with an under 500 overall record.
Sure you can. There are under 500 teams in the softball tournament. There'll be under 500 teams
Sure,
in
but you've got to win your conference tournament.
No, you don't. If you're still one of the 64 best teams or the first 32 best teams or whatever it is,
they're 25 RPI, which is absolutely
amazing. When you play in the SEC week in and week out, and you don't get one of those years where you don't play the good teams,
and then you take care of the Georgia Techs and you're out of conference,
and you play Clemson and you play a couple of other guys from the ACC, as Florida does with playing Miami and FSU every year for 6 games, your RPI is going to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not surprising.
It's absolutely. And then the other thing that I found interesting was the team picked to finish last in the Pac-12, and they're going to wind up winning the thing. Do you know who that is?
Arizona?
No.
Arizona State?
No.
Utah.
BYU.
Utah is first in the Pac-12. They're not ranked, obviously. The only team from out west is still UCal Santa Barbara. But it's just the dominance in the southeastern part of the United States now in baseball.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes about that, whether or not it's because so many. We talked about before being able to play ball all year long, but also I think it comes with a perception. The SEC is perceived to be the premier conference in football, and so if you're a good team in the SEC, you're automatically in the discussion for the national stuff. Whereas you had a same quality team, let's say same talent-wise, same ability-wise, out of the Mountain West Conference, they're not going to be nationally noticed.
Yeah, right.
And so some of that is hype. Some of it is the hype machine that is the SEC with their own network, with the ACC with their own network.
Yeah, but I'll give you an interesting thing with the SEC, and call it hype or whatever. I call it reality. Look at, I would say 5 years ago, Texas A&M. Where does that stand now in baseball, in basketball,
in all the sports,
in every sport?
Yeah. But again, you got the SEC money coming into it. You've got the SEC exposure, so kids want to play, and the Big 12, it's just they're not in the conversation anymore. No. Any sports.
But you look, but I find that interesting. You want, hey, it's all hype and it's blown. Just look at the change in
what games are on TV?
Relativeness.
What games are on
relativity?
TV?
I'm Cuban. English is my second language. What is it? In relativity between Texas and Texas A&M. What game? What?
What games are on TV every week? What games can you find? Can you find a Texas game on TV.
No, because they went they went and got their own network that nobody wants to have.
You can if you have the Texas Longhorn package.
Which
unless you're a Texas fan, you're not going to get that, right? So you have the SEC package. They're on SEC,
and
they're on
and
ESPN,
the SEC package isn't
they're
national.
on ESPNU. They're always on something. They're on SEC Plus. I mean, you can watch every Gator game almost. Every SEC game, you can watch the Texas A&M's play.
Hey, Texas A&M plays Texas in first round of softball regionals.
Yeah, and the Texas A&M should win that game, but that's another thing. And you're talking about the regional stuff. As a Gator fan, it always irks us, and we always say it. The number one seed, the overall number one seed in the tournament, who has lost a total of five games all year long, all five of them the teams in the top 25 of the RPI currently, is going to play their first game at 2:30 on a Friday afternoon. How in the world do you not get rewarded for your fans to be able to have a 7:30 Eastern start time on a Friday night so you can pack the stadium? How is that a reward?
Well,
not only that, the only other team with 50 wins this year
was Michigan.
No.
Oh no, Michigan.
Florida Atlantic, who is here in this region.
And that's when they localize regions.
But they don't do that. They say they do, but they don't. They got teams like Fordham that has to go all the way halfway across the country. How's that regionalized?
Yeah, but they've done it to Florida. I mean, who's here?
It's
two Florida teams and an Alabama team.
I understand that, but they don't really do it overall. It's just the fact that you want to make it that way for Florida. It seems like the Florida teams that win in Conference USA and in the American Athletic Conference, they always have to go either to Florida or Florida State to play. Why not send them to Louisiana? Why not send them to Louisiana Lafayette? Why not send them to Georgia or an opportunity? I mean, when the number one seeded regional has fewer losses by the other three opponents
than any
other national seed, then you have not nationally seeded them.
Right. No, you're right.
So there's no advantage in being the number one overall.
When there's teams that are, as you said, someone who upset someone in a conference tournament and is sitting right now at 20-35, and they're not coming to the number one seed.
That's not right.
That's not right. Because that needs to be the number 64 team should be playing the number one.
That's right. Yep. And so, but that's the way it works.
So here's my other one. We'll get back to Major League Baseball, and I'm watching with my son.
Given the fact that we talk, probably not going to get back.
We flipped the channel over to MLB Network because they had a live look in at Scherzer trying to get 21 strikeouts. He's got 18 going into the ninth inning, and he strikes off the leadoff guy to go 19. The next guy hits a solo homer to make the game 3-2. Okay, the next guy winds up hitting a foul ball behind the first base dugout, and the first baseman runs over and everything like that and reaches into the stands and misses it by about that much. And my son says, he had no business catching that ball anyway, because then that would have taken away a strikeout opportunity. So he proceeds to strike that guy out to make it 20, and now he's got one left. And now his comment is, if they hit anything right here, you better drop it or make an error and let him have another chance at strike out. What?
It's hilarious.
What?
Did you see any of that game?
I did not see the game. I just heard about it afterwards.
I just watched the ninth inning. It was unbelievable. I kept following the little ticker on the bottom.
Did he strike the next guy out? Or
no, he tied the record at 20.
So
he ground balled the third ball game.
So the guy didn't miss it.
He played the ball. But it was 3-2. I think if the home run isn't hit, well, and the thing was, he was at about 115, and you're kind of looking. And
he knew. He said he knew.
Is he coming out to get him?
No, he said he knew. Scherzer said he knew the record about halfway through the game, and he thought, I got a chance to get it.
And Dusty, and that's what you've heard the term player's manager or whatever. Dusty realized he goes, he's got a shot at a record here.
Against his former team, who didn't sign him again, who didn't want to pay the money for him. I think that's a little, here, let me shove one right here at you. You know, when you use the term, when pitchers use the term, I shoved it today, that's a shove job. That's just comes out and says, "You should have signed me, and because you didn't, now I'm going to strike out."
And he had, in that last inning, he had, who was it? Martinez, Cabrera, and I mean he had 3, 4, 5. It wasn't an easy.
Well, yeah, you got him. He got him.
20 strikeouts.
What?
20 strikeouts.
But it was nasty stuff.
20 strikeouts in a 9-inning game. That's pretty impressive.
Right.
Done by
I don't know who else did it.
Clemens, Kerry Wood.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty good company, except for the Kerry Wood.
What?
Kerry Wood was a good
Wood,
pitcher. He was a good pitcher, and he hung one on the Braves too. But it's still happy about that, Wrigley fans.
Did Kerry Wood
he had a home run?
Kerry Wood start the Bartman game?
I don't know.
Or did Pryor? Well, it was one of those two.
Anyway, it happens.
One of them started that game, and the other one started the shellacking the next day.
You talk about that though, but we were talking about softball earlier. In softball, I can tell you that there are coaches who will tell outfielders in a game that's a 2-1 game in the 7th inning, and a runner at third and 1 out, and a fly ball that's deep down the line. There are coaches that will tell their outfielders drop it because that's going to score a run, and they would rather have their pitcher have a shot to strike out the batter on the next pitch than have the run scored.
Really?
Absolutely. That is a common.
Nuts.
That is a common.
Do you? I mean, when that ground ball, and it's funny, Danny didn't even think twice. He's got no business. Let him strike the guy out. You know, let the guy get to first base. But how do you make an error on purpose on a ground ball that's going to end the game in 3-2? And
if it's not 3-2, maybe.
I'm thinking if he makes an error and that guy gets on base, Dusty goes and gets it.
And the next guy hits a home run, you lose the game.
That's why Dusty. Right. If that guy gets on base, that's his last batter, regardless. I thought.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think he would have let him go one more.
Here's what I was going to do. We had, obviously, when we talked earlier, we had Kyle scheduled to go today, and I said I'm going to have fun. And we wound up actually filling up the whole time. So I got a couple minutes here, and I had a list of questions I was going to just bounce back and get. Right, I'll ask you the one. You ready? Your favorite memory game of baseball?
My favorite memory game of baseball.
We were at a game?
Yeah, you watched, you played, you hit your very first home run when you're 9 years old and it went over the fence.
Didn't do that.
You know.
I got hit in the head.
Or you were watching a game. I'll tell you, I've got two. Okay? And both of them funny, none of them with me playing. One, Edgar Renteria's line drive up the middle, Game 7 of the World Series, 11th inning, Marlins beat the Indians, which to me would have been the greatest baseball World Series game ever played if a New York team would have been in and it wasn't Florida. I mean, you go walk off in the bottom of the 11th in a Game 7.
That's pretty good.
I mean, and then two, when my son won the state 8-year-old little championship on a walk-off and the kid slid it home and the ball got, and there was a play at the plate and everyone went to home plate to mob the kid and I went behind home plate to get the ball that had gone by the catcher because I wanted that ball for a memory.
Right.
And I mean, most exciting time. I've given you time to think about yours.
Go ahead. I'll go.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, two that come in my mind, Kirk Gibson's home run against the A's. Or listen to Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola, which you can still do on YouTube.
Not Jim Leyrit's home runs.
Not Jim Leyrit's home. No, not Jim.
Go on. I'm sorry.
Jim Leyrit, and when the Braves won the World Series,
95. The last game.
Yeah, I remember crying. I mean, that's how much it meant to me. Because if you think the Braves are bad now, guys, 1970s, we're reliving it. This is reliving it. So don't feel bad.
Yeah, I lucked into being in New York when Clemens won his. Whatever momentous game it was, 300.
Oh, wow.
We were in New York for our anniversary with my wife and I. Went to buy tickets, paid way too much to sit in that game, but was there, watched it. It was pretty impressive then. And the other one that happened was when I was in college, the first game of starting back the program at Samford University. First game at home, 7th inning, runner at third, 1 out, squeeze bunt, scored the run. I was bunting, scored the run. The guy came in and scored. We won the first game, and then we went 3-44 after that. So, but it was a great time. Yeah, it's a great memory.
we've run out of time, and I had a bunch of those. I was just going to bounce you guys memories and
Yeah,
everything like that.
we'll always keep those for later. We can talk about Stanton's slump. We can talk about the fact that there was 2 triple plays in the month, or 2 triple
In the
plays
game
this year
by the White Sox.
Not the same game.
No, the White Sox last night. 2 triple plays in the same game. 2 triple.
No.
Oh no, they're second
No.
of the season.
Second of the
I
season.
take that back.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're crazy. All right, well, we're over time, so find us right here. See us next week. We look forward to you having a great week, playing baseball when you can. Watch a lot of baseball this weekend. Watch a lot of softball.
Yep.
And go Gators.
Play ball.